Welcome back. We are here for Design Your Dream Decade. And again, I am Volante Maria. And I wanted to talk about this because I'm really excited about this next decade. I've been talking about turning 50 next year, but I usually don't buy into the whole new year, new you thing. But then I started thinking about the past 10 years of my life and how it's completely different than what I would expected it to be. And there's been some good times, there's been some bad times. So when you talk about designing your dream decade, God created you for a specific purpose, and reason. And you need to keep that at the center of it. And because we are created by God, He has given us the power to design the lives that we want. The desires that are placed in you, they're God given. So when you speak about designing your dream decade, and when you look at a decade, 10 years, what can happen in a decade? You can, that's enough time to complete grammar school. That's enough time to complete high school and get a degree. And when you look back, it's enough time to rebuild your credit. And what I don't want to do is look back over the last 10 years with regret. So, how do you actually design your decade? I always say that everything needs a plan. And for me, that's something that was very important. If I were to go back 10 years, I was about to lose my business. I didn't know what I was doing. I was completely surrounded by all the wrong people, and I was making mistakes. And when I look at where I have come to from that point to this point, and even now, when you speak about your dream life, even when you're living your best life, you still live in the world, and there's going to be negative things that happen. So, how do you stay in that dream mode? And that's what I call it. So, I want to go to this. I want to go to resolutions because it's that time of year where people make New Year's resolutions, right? Well, you can't keep a New Year's resolution until you find old year resolution. The word resolution comes from the root word, which is to resolve. So, you have to resolve, find the answers, clear up everything from the previous year before you can start saying what you're going to do in the next year. So when you talk about the end of a decade, it's even more important to do that. And mistakes, bad times, grief, those are failures, those are all things that are part of life. So we need to go back, resolve that, accept it, no regrets, but own it so that we can move forward. So, what I want you to do, I should have told you at the beginning, I'd like you to get a pen and paper down because what I'm going to do is ask you to do a few exercises to kind of get you ready for this new decade that's coming. Time doesn't stop, it waits for no one. And if you're not together, if you're not prepared, then time will move right along without you. And what we don't want to happen is another 10 years go by and we're still stuck in the same condition or if even a worse condition. Thank you so much. I see Lisa Evans. Thank you for tuning in and God bless you. Thank you. That means so much. And feel free to comment. That's why I wanted to go live because I want to share what you're saying as well as what I'm saying. So let's go to this. I gave you a little time. You should have some pen and paper or even your phone to take notes. Now, our current decade resolution. List your New Year's resolutions for the last 10 years. If you've done that, and if it wasn't a formal resolution, I want you to list or even think about the goals that you set every year. And if you can't remember all of them, that's fine. But if you can't remember any of them, it's a good chance you didn't meet them. So I want you to go back and think about everything that you resolve to do every year. Jot that down or make a mental note. Now, go back and list 10 accomplishments, just 10 accomplishments over the past 10 years. Now, when I say an accomplishment is a personal success for you. It does not have to be validated by anyone. It doesn't have to be something where society would say you were a success. Something that you did that you feel good about. Write those down or make a mental note of them. 10 things that you've done this year successfully. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to get a good idea of where you are. You can't fix anything or make anything better until you know where you are. That's why even in school, before you pass, to the next grade, what do? You take a final exam, and that is an assessment to see how well you mastered the previous curriculum before you can go to the next level. That is the goal for the new decade, to go to the next level. And if there are some things that you need to review and you need to fix, then do that. If there are some things that you need to let go, do that. And God designed us for us to be in His will. And I always say this: anything that you have to go outside of the will of God to achieve, it is not a blessing, it's a trick. And it's only a matter of time before it comes back to haunt you. So you want to really do that. You want to go back, look at where you are, and appreciate where you are. We're not looking back to feel bad and like you didn't accomplish anything or to beat yourself up. No, we're going forward so that you can actually see where you are and know what it is. Think about it. 10 years is a long time. Almost anything that you've messed up in this next decade, you've got time to fix it. But it requires a plan and for of action for us to get that done. Okay. Now listen to this. Your next step. I call this step before the but. And I call it before the but for this reason. You know how somebody asks you a question and you say, yeah, well, so and so and so and so and so and so, but all I want is the part of the answer to this next question before the but. Okay? So here we go. What do you want to accomplish in the next 10 years? Okay? I want this answer before the but. Okay, so I want $1 million, but I don't want to hear anything after the but. All I want to hear is, what do you want to accomplish? Thank you, Lynette Helm, because that is your dream zone. Okay, that's your dream zone. I have a friend who wrote a book about that, about how to go back to that zone and all of the stuff that you thought you could do when you were a kid, right? You wanted to be a millionaire, you wanted to be an author, you wanted to be a superstar. All of these things you wanted to do when you were a kid, but you got older and all of the buts started happening. Well, I would have done this, but erase all of that. Remember, you have 10 years to start fresh. Whatever you want, if you focus on that, you can get that done. I have a saying, I even have a t-shirt, I wish I had it on. It says, faith is more real than any reality. I'm going to say it again. Faith is more real than any reality. If you believe God and if you trust His plan for your life and if you walk in faith, you can do that. And one of the ladies, I'm going to include you in my video, Lynette, who just posted, I'm going to share this again. I've shared it before. We were at a Kirk Franklin concert together, and I know you remember this. He said, think about living your dreams and what you want to do and what it is you want to do. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm doing it. And that, I never forgot that, because to be at a place in your life to be able to say, I'm doing what I want to do, that's everything. And again, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be things that happen that hurt, but you need to walk and live in that dream zone and believe that everything is attainable. Now, I'm going to give you some tips about how to live in that dream zone no matter what. And I'm going to go to the scripture on this with the story of Joseph, right? We all know the story of Joseph the dreamer, Joseph the coat of many colors, and how his father loved him, Jacob loved him, and he made him this beautiful coat. And all of his brothers were envious of this coat. And we know that Joseph was a dreamer, right? He was a dreamer, and he had a dream that got him in some trouble. His dream was that his father and his brothers would worship him. Now, Joseph was not the oldest brother, so he was in a position where they would look at him and say, well, why would we worship him? Who was he supposed to be? And all of this. And that's kind of what happened. So they were going to kill him. And then one of his brothers decided, okay, no, we're not going to kill him. We're just going to sell him. And they ended up selling Joseph. Now, his dream was unlikely, highly unlikely. Nobody could see how this was going to happen. And his dream was also very unpopular. But that was his dream. It was the dream that God gave him. Now listen to this. This is how you design your dream decade. First thing you've got to do is embrace the dream. When Joseph had this dream, right, he didn't wake up and say, that's not possible. That breaks the rules. I'm not qualified for that. No, Joseph embraced his dream so much so that he was excited and he went to his family and told them about it. Now, let's go back to that exercise I had you do before the but. When I asked you, what do you want to accomplish in the next 10 years? And I said, write down anything before you would say, but I want this, but. And it was funny for me when I did that question, I said, I want a yacht. And I went, why did I say that? I don't see how that's going to happen. But again, stop it right there and look at that. And so you have to embrace the dream and accept it and have it always in your mind whenever you're going forth. Now, here's another thing that's going to be contrary to what most people teach about dreams. You've got to speak the dream. I don't know where this mindset came from, where people say, don't share your dream because if you tell people your dream, they'll do something to you to try to make it not come true and you jinx yourself. That is absolutely not true. And here's why. When Joseph told his brothers about his dream, they were angry, right? And they sold him, and they thought that they were sabotaging his dream so that his dream could never come true. But had they not sold Joseph, and I love this, in an effort to divert his dream, the dream would never have come true. You cannot be afraid to speak it. Speak it. Write it down. Say it over and over and over again, even if it doesn't make sense. No one can stop your dream from coming true. And just like Joseph's brother, if they try, it's going to work in your favor. God will turn it around for you, but you can't be scared walking around with a dream bottled up inside of you that no one knows. And even from my own experience, I had said for years that I wanted a chance to meet Oprah. And it wasn't about the riches and the fame. I just love the way that she handles herself and does business. And I honestly try to pattern my media portion after what she does. My studio that you can kind of see in the background looks exactly like Harpo's. It's a mini version. So I have been saying I was going to meet her for years. And because I was saying it, I was speaking it, and so many, I would say most of my friends and family thought I was crazy and that it would not happen. But there was one person who heard it. And then she heard about Oprah coming to Chicago to shoot the life class. And she called me and she told me to go do it. And I emailed the producers and they called me. And I got to sit there face to face and talk to Oprah. And that is actually why we have the Sanctuary Academy today, because she inspired me and she made me feel valuable and she made me think that I could do it because she shared her story. And Oprah came from a more obscure beginning than I did. I had more than Oprah had when she was growing up. And so it really made me feel like, oh, you can do this. And that's what you need. So speak the dream. Don't keep it bottled up. Lisa, thank you. You want the Lord to order your steps with no but. Exactly. Listen to what the Lord said. Don't allow a but to make you God said do this, but no. If God called you to do it, he will equip you for it. Believe the dream. Faith. Faith is everything. And I was about 35 years old. I was kind of old before I actually figured out how faith worked. And God just revealed to me one time. He said, if you live right, it's not a matter of asking me if you can have it. It's just a matter of believing that it's already yours and I got you. And when that clicked for me, I started going, oh, wait, because I would go through life and say, well, I don't have the education, I don't have the money, I don't have the background, so I'm just going to wait until the time is right. You can't do that. You make time right. And of course, you prepare yourself when you do the things, but the old people used to say, if you make one step, God will make two. That is so true. So you've got to believe the dream. You got to embrace it, believe you're worth it. You got to speak it. Speak it to yourself. First of all, look in the mirror and say, look, I'm going to do this. Believe it. Then you've got to work the dream. What? I say it almost every week. Faith without works is dead. Work the dream. When I was at the show with Oprah, she actually had a video of oh my god, Jim Carrey. I can almost can't think of his name, Jim Carrey, and he talked about acting as if and saying, I already have the money, I just haven't gotten my check yet. The position is already mine. They just haven't called me to claim it yet. And he was talking about walking and acting as if. And that was so powerful for me. And he said that he had written himself a check and he gave himself so many days. He was homeless to get this check, and he would go, and I love this, he said he would go into the rich part of Hollywood and sit out in front of the houses and just look and envision himself, right? Write the vision. Envision himself living in that house, walking in and out. He said he could see it. He believed it, and he was working, and he kept working, and he was able to cash that check by the date that he specified. And sometimes, as people of God, we allow people who don't profess salvation to have more faith than we do. You know, we have faith and we go to church and we believe God for a healing here and there. We believe God for a financial blessing here and there, but we don't believe Him for the big things. My God is bigger than anything and anybody. And sometimes we don't have just because we don't believe. And the last step in it is to live the dream, walk in it. Stop being scared. Yeah, you want to save and you want to prepare for rainy days, but if there's something that you want to do, there's something that you want to go for, go ahead and do it. And when we speak of living your dream, I would definitely have to say that the Sanctuary Academy and the Sanctuary Sunday School is definitely a dream for me. And that's why at the beginning of a decade or whatever time frame you're working with, you have to outline that. Because here's the thing, I always say that things don't always go according to plan, but when you have a plan, you have in front of you an outline and what you want to do so that you can recognize an opportunity that actually fits into the plan. You can add on things to your plan. And for me, at the beginning of this decade, I would not have known that there would be a Sanctuary Academy. It didn't exist. I didn't plan to do it. And I definitely did not know that at this point I've reached 500,000 people. Absolutely, that was not my goal. I was really just teaching Sunday school online because I was frustrated because the Sunday school had fallen off at my church. That was my motivation. And I'll tell the story. God spoke to me and He said, teach. He kept telling me, teach. And I'm going, well, who I'm going to teach? Nobody's showing up for Sunday school. What am I going to teach for? I can stay at home and teach. God said, teach. And in so many words, it was like, look, you figure it out. And I love that because God has given us, and this was in Sunday school last week actually, God has equipped us with everything that we need. Sometimes we're so busy getting mad about what's not there and what we don't have until we overlook what we do have. And you have the core of your dream right there. You've just got to live it. And you've got to go do it. And you've got to embrace it. I'm going to go back to those steps. So I said, embrace the dream. Then I said, speak the dream. Then I said, believe the dream. I said, work the dream. And then I said, to live the dream. So when you talk about 10 years, and what I've put together is a 10-year planner. And it's not your ordinary 10-year planner with, I'm sorry, I'm still getting over this cold, with dates. But it also has goal setting. It has scripture verses. It has inspiration. And this is my gift to you. There is no special fee. It'll be live on the website. I have another broadcast at 8 p.m. tonight that I'm going to. So this 12 is noon and it's 8. And just email me. So if you go to the website, www.thesanctuary.academy, get on the mailing list, and you will get the email within 24 hours of the planning. It's absolutely free. It's no with purchase, excuse me, but I need a drink. It's not a gift with purchase, no gimmicks, into your email, and I will send you the planner. And when you talk about, I want you to really think though and focus your mind beyond the but. And when you talk about that, think about how old you'll be when you're thinking about this plan. How old will you be in 10 years? 10 years from now, I'll be about to turn 60. I'm about to turn 50 next year. What do you want to accomplish by that age? And I look at that, and I do turn 50 next year. And there's some things that I wanted to accomplish, of course, that I have not accomplished. But this is what I pointed out to myself. I want to point out to you. Give yourself bonus. There are bonus things. There are opportunities that will present yourself themselves that you weren't planning for. And even though you may not have accomplished a specific goal that you set out to accomplish, you may have accomplished something comparable. For instance, the Sanctuary Academy. The Sanctuary Academy was not on my 10-year plan back in 2010. That I had no idea that it would happen. But this is an accomplishment that can be a bonus for me, and it's a wonderful bonus. Learn to give yourself credit for everything. Sometimes we look at what other people have done and we look at things that we have not done, and we don't consider the things that we have done, and we don't give ourselves value for that. And so when you start to think about working on your New Year's resolution, and this is why so many of them fail, actually every year at the end of the year I do a New Year's resolution video. But this year was a decade, it's a new decade starting, and I said, I'm going to jump on that because a lot of times the reason why New Year's resolutions don't fail, is because we don't realize that a New Year's resolution is part of a bigger picture. You can set goals that you want to reach every single year, but you have to realize that these goals build on each other. For me, what I did starting in 2014, I believe it was, I gave myself a theme. And the first thing was vision. Because as I started this decade, like I told you, I was lost, I was all over the place. I was just jumping on anything. I was trying to build my business. And anything somebody brought my way, I said yes to. I lost a ton of money. I lost all of my money, as a matter of fact. And I did not know what to do, and I was almost ready to give up. And it was right around the beginning of the decade when I did meet Oprah and talk to her, and it kind of gave me that boost to keep going and keep my business going. So you want to do that. You always want to understand it's part of a bigger picture. So then I went into the things. My first thing was vision. It was because I needed clarity, I needed focus, and to figure out what I was doing and have some order. The next year after vision was passion. I put the passion behind it, and I started to focus on really what I loved doing and what I was good at. And again, I think I quoted this last week too, because one of my favorite quotes, Steve Jobs said that you can only do really great work if you love what you do. And I believe that with all my heart. So that was what the next year was. Okay, it was vision, it was passion. The next year was manifestation. Okay, that's when it got real. That's when I started seeing my vision come true. And the manifestation is a process. You've got to be patient. It's not going to be, I wake up the next morning, boom, my dream come true. We were talking about Joseph and his dream. For it to get from the point where he had that dream to the point that he actually was in that position where he was a ruler over his brothers, that was 30 years. He had gone through being a slave, he had gone through being in jail, he had gone through being sold, he had gone through all of these things before he got to that dream. But he held on to his dream. So when you consider the next 10 years of your life and you start making these New Year's resolutions, I would say do it and work it backwards. And this is all going to be in the planner that I'm going to email you again, www.thesanctuary.academy. And I'll put the actual link into the description of this video, and it'll show you how to do that. And we're going to start at that 10-year mark and work backwards. So where do you want to be? How old do you want to be? Let's start there. Then we can break that down into 5-year chunks. Okay, this is where I need to be in 2025 to be on target. And when you're doing those, make them very loose and very general, because at the beginning of this 10 years, what I did decide was that I wanted a media brand. I did know that, but I was going about it in an entirely different way. I had WBDN Media, which has since been dissolved, and now the media arm has become the Sanctuary Academy. God brought me back. I am a Sunday school teacher. I love the Word of God. That's what I do, and that's what I do best. So it took me a minute to realize, why are you trying to do something that you're not good at when you have something you're good at and that you absolutely love. And that's why God kept telling me teach. It was like, figure it out and teach. And when I started to do that, even my audience here, I have never in my entire life felt this level of appreciation from anyone that I've worked with. The Sanctuary Sunday School audience, that I don't even want to call you audience, you're my family. I've never felt that level of appreciation in my entire life. Out of 50 years of being in church, out of 30 years in ministry, I've never experienced this kind of love that I get in email and in comments. And that is only a confirmation from God that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's why I wanted to do this video, because I want everybody to feel that God created you with the purpose. And I truly, truly want this to be the best 10 years of your life. I have the planner and I'll be coming back. So, this Design Your Dream Decade thing is not just one video, it's an entire series that I will be doing. I'll be checking back with you. I want two-way communication. I want follow ups on what you're doing. Ask me questions on how I did it, questions about what you want to do. Because like I said, I was 35 before I actually understood how faith works. And my mom used to always tell me that you can have whatever you want. And I never thought about that. Even my grandfather, administrative assistant O.B. Hendricks, he would always say, anytime somebody asked him his age, he would say, I'm going to live till I die. And we're just like, what does that mean? But it clicked for me. As long as there's breath in your body, live. Don't survive. Don't get by. Don't scuffle. Don't hustle. Live. Live your life. Jesus said, right? I'm come that you might have life and that more abundantly. Jesus didn't come for me to struggle. Now, there's a difference between struggling and suffer. He did suffer. He suffered for the faith, but he also lived. And that's where I want us to be. So we're talking about designing the best 10 years of your life, designing your dream decade. If you get nothing else from this broadcast, I want you to transition your mind right now into a dream mindset. Keep your head in the clouds, as they say, and transcend above it all. I don't care what's going wrong. If I were to sit here, I could sit here. I've been talking almost 30 minutes. I could sit here and talk 30 hours about everything that's going wrong in my life. I could talk to you all day about my problems, but I don't want to do that. I choose to dream. I choose to live. I choose to live my best life. And it's not just for me, it's for all of us, it's for all of God's children. And that's pretty much it. Again, go to the website. It's not live yet. It won't be live until after I do the 8 o'clock broadcast as well, because I want everybody to get it together. And I probably won't send it out until the beginning of next year because the planner does start in January. So I'll make sure that you get it. And I want you to really start thinking about your life. And I know we're stressed. You got jobs, you got kids, you have spouses, you have church work or whatever. But it's nothing wrong with taking time for you. And make sure that you take time out so that you can be able to design your dream decade.